Ladies and gentlemen, the suffering continues, man. What David has gotten himself in is you can't even call suffering at this point. He is just an absolute moron, and he's continuing to do it. Behind the jail cell, he's continuing to incriminate himself. You know how people say beyond the grave, she still haunts me. Beyond freedom, David continues to incriminate himself, man, because recently the prosecutors dropped their big summary of evidence and their roadmap to what they're going to do to tear David apart and put him underneath the jail. It was a lot. It was a 50-something minute video the last time we covered it. And now, after specific key details have been released, more and more things are starting to add up. Specifically, a radio interview that D4vd himself did, speaking about a wonderful time he had with a few friends in a particular country. Okay? I want to show you something. And then we're going to move forward to the actual photos that were leaked about David's house. And we're going to see a whole breakdown that perfectly lines up with what the prosecutors have presented to the court. But the most interesting thing about all of this is that a lot of this information was figured out on the internet already, and it's just being proven in an official capacity. Let's go ahead and check this out real quick. I want to show you something first. All right, so I'm not going to go into the whole document again, but you guys will recall from the previous video that Prosecution claims that David took Celeste to London on exclusive trips, one, and then shortly thereafter to Texas to meet his family. We're going to get into David's whole family later. That's a whole separate video in itself. But just know the two locations that pop out, London and Texas, in that order. Check out this radio interview that singer David did, and tell me if you recognize a few comparisons. Let's run this.
I used to do a lot of different projects with different producers, and I went through maybe 5 or 6 different versions of this album. But the most recent version, the one that I'm very happy with, the one that we're going to put out, I made in a total of 4 weeks. So I went to London for 2 weeks with 3 of my friends, and we just made a song every day for 2 weeks in London. I love London because of like the gloomy aesthetic and the gloomy just like vibe and environment that London has. Like there's barely any sun there, and I love that because the music I make is really sad. And then so 2 weeks I made a song every day, came out with half the album, and then I went back to Houston for another 2 weeks, and I made the rest of the project on my phone just off of beats that people sent me and with some things that I make. And yeah, I just spent 2 weeks in a different area trying to get myself in a different mindset, and then I came back to Houston, put myself in the same mindset again, and made everything by myself. So I wanted to see what I looked like, or how I worked with different people and how I worked with myself, you know?
Man, he's been telling us the entire time, bro. Let's back that up one more time. So you went to London with 3 of your friends. With 3 of your friends, really? And what doesn't make sense, people need to go down beside David. I hate when the main person goes down and everybody else behind, who are the real enablers, don't have anything happen to them. Because according to SF Investigates, you need a guardian. And I mean, everybody knows that, right? Somebody needs to sign off to let a minor go abroad using their passport, you know, going to leaving the country. So if we're assuming that David and his 3 friends included Celeste, then somebody had to have known. Somebody who was an adult had to have known. You know what I'm saying? Let's play that back one more time.
Most recent version, the one that I'm very happy with, the one that we're going to put out, I made in a total of 4 weeks. So I went to London for 2 weeks with 3 of my friends, and we just made a song every day for 2 weeks in London. I love London because of like the gloomy aesthetic and the gloomy just like vibe and environment that London has. Like there's barely any sun there, and I love that because the music.
And of course you would like the gloomy and the sad aesthetic, you sick fuck. You're a gore obsessed maniac. You know, everybody in Discord say he's obsessed with dismembering cartel videos. He's obsessed with gore anime. You're just a weirdo. You probably like London because there's more knives out there and shit. You know what I'm saying? I very much believe that that was Celeste that he was talking about. And he was openly talking about that shit because, again, my biggest thing about David is I think he believed the way the family let her just move around the way she did. He believed that nobody would give a fuck. If she lived, if she died, if she went abroad, he believed no one would give a fuck. And it kind of feels that way to me. You know, some people are saying, oh, don't criticize the family. I'm going to loosely criticize. Yes, I will. Because a guardian had to have known. Let me go to SF Investigates real quick. This is what he had to say about the whole Celeste going to London thing. This is what SF Investigates had to say. So here's what SF Investigates had to say. Minors such as Celeste Rivas cannot just travel to London without consent. Here are the laws in the UK about minors traveling with an adult that is not their parent. U.S. citizens do not need ETA/visa to travel to or through the UK. You'll need to show that your parents or guardian consent to your travel and accommodation arrangements. So let's just stop right there. There's only two options with this, guys. It's either one of Celeste's parents signed off on this, or someone lied and risked like worldwide crime to get her over to London. Which one do you think it is? You think somebody risked their whole career to sneak some 13, 14-year-old over international lines, or do you think a family member just signed and said, oh yeah, she could go? Let's continue. If you do have to apply for a standard visitor visa, you'll need to identify the adult traveling with you in your visa application. If the person you're traveling with is not your parent, you'll need to provide specific information about them in your application. You can identify up to 2 adults in your visa application. Their names will appear on your visa. The adult can apply for a visa at the same time, but you must each complete separate applications. So long story short, taking that back, I do believe David was talking about Celeste going to London with him on that time. And I do think like one of the friends that was with them knew about her. And I think that was probably a manager or somebody on his team or a lot more people knew about Celeste other than just the families. And it's all coming out. It's getting wider and wider and wider. A lot of people knew about this little girl. But anyways, I just want to throw that out. He's been leaving breadcrumbs like a motherfucker. Intentionally. I don't know why he feels like, you know, he said himself, he's like this detective with a dual personality, right? So, but let's move on. We have photos released by TMZ of the actual garage, and it's pretty interesting. Let's take a look at it, right? So this is the image that's been going around. I think it's been circulating for the past 24 hours, really popular, but there's more pictures than just this. This is the popular one right here. And if you take a look inside, a lot of people have been saying it's shittier than they expected, and I do agree. It's the garage is a little shittier than expected. And a lot of people pointed out it's a concrete, like this is not a typical garage. It's not epoxied. It's not sealed. It's a brick concrete floor where blood and human tissue and everything can seep in. It's porous as fuck. So David allegedly did his dirty Dexter work in this garage. How stupid can you be? One drop of blood in one of the cracks of these grits, that shit's staying there forever. You're going to have to remove the entire floor and replace it if you want to get that out. But anyways, I just want to point this one thing out. I'll put an arrow right here. Look at this motorcycle. Look at this bicycle right here. This bicycle is going to come into play later, so keep that in your head, right? Everything else, you see a ladder, you see a gaming monitor right here. It's a LG. This deadass could be my gaming monitor. You know he was a gamer. Let's move forward. And now this is pictures that have been taken with people removing things from the property. Things are being removed from the property because now they're putting the house back up on the market. I believe it's already back up on the market. So this is another image right here, the side of the house. And trust me, it might look a little shitty on the outside, but trust and believe, I've been inside of these houses. They're fucking amazing on the inside. It looks a little weathered and shit on the outside, but trust and believe the inside is lit in a bitch. But anyways, you could see they're just pulling his stuff out, getting rid of it, and yanking it all out. Which goes to show the police are pretty confident that they got everything they need, because now the crime scene is contaminated. You know, everything is fucked off. People are walking through. You know, look at this. People are taking shit, throwing it away. This more so gives me the idea that prosecution is confident. Here goes another picture. And again, it's the left side. It's the left side, this house right here, just ducked off in the corner. And it's 2 garageways. So he would be able to like drive in, you know, deal with the body, drive out without anybody seeing it. So I was doing some more digging, trying to figure out what that garage really looked like on the inside, because people said that David had a whole arcade in the garage. But that one picture, I feel like, is deceiving the public, right? I always say, like, the outside of these houses, these $1 million mansions and shit, sometimes it's not that impressive until you get inside. So I was able to find another angle of when David had a bunch of girls in his garage because he had like a whole arcade set up. So this was before the whole thing got flipped on its head. And it's a lot larger than you would expect. So I think what David did is he took the kiddie pool away from the brick and stuff, and he brought it by his arcade, which at the time had like a matte surface. In my head, I'm thinking he removed that mat later, because the pictures, we don't see any black mat. But in the past, when he had this whole arcade and girls over, there was like somewhat of a mat. Check this out.
Welcome to my arcade! So we got some arcade games.
Oh my god!
And this is the camera.
Look at it. It's like some sort of a workout floor. And this is where the bike comes into play, right? This is somebody's TikTok who put this together. But they were able to match that same bicycle up to the outside view, kind of proving to everybody, or just showing everybody, that there's a lot more space than what that one picture shows. I'm assuming TMZ pulled up to try to take the picture and police say, get the fuck out of here or something. So they're only able to get that. But look at the side by side right here. So you know that's the same photo. And if you look at the ground where David's doing this fucking stupid ass yoga pose, the floor is completely different. So I don't know if he thought that he could dismember her with the kiddie pool and with the black curtains and everything. Look around. He has all these black curtains and stuff. Some real Dexter shit, right? I don't know if he thought that was going to conceal all the evidence, and then he could just throw away this mat. No one's ever found the big black mat, to what I understand. But there's a big difference between what it looked like back then to what it looks like right now. But that bike has stayed in the same place the whole time. And that's supposed to be his big arcade with Dance Dance Revolution, it looks like, connected. So, you know, all this new information has been coming out. And the man who's been on the case the entire time, Steve Fisher, recently came on to News Nation and gave his opinion on all the things that have been officially released. Because remember, Steve Fisher, he said the chainsaw first, right? What else did he say? He had told us about the owners being out of the country. He's been on this case the entire time, and he gives us a little extra insight on how it actually looks on the ground. Let's check this out.
Here, Steve, I'm going to start with you. So everybody knows you were hired by the owner of the home that David was reportedly renting. You were hired to investigate. You talked about a chainsaw months ago. You talked about finding a chainsaw months ago. Your reaction to this, does this confirm everything that you couldn't actually reveal at the time? Talk to us about it.
Yeah, it confirms some of it. You know, we didn't know everything. Let's be honest about that. But, you know, we did find a chainsaw. We found a burn cage, and we knew that they were ordered in the name of this Victoria Mendez. And we disclosed that it was, you know, in a fake name. And but we didn't know if that was a real person or not. However, all these things, and there was more things that were delivered to the house in that name, and we couldn't get past the chainsaw or the burn cage. Just there was no reasonable use to have it there. And now we find out that it does appear like, you know, they played a role.
Joseph, I don't know the better way to, I really don't know the best way to ask this, but can you explain what dismembering somebody with a chainsaw actually entails, cutting off someone's fingers? Because we are now have to believe, according to prosecutors, if these allegations are true, that a 20-year-old did this.
Yeah, I can break it down for you very succinctly. The fact that the RPMs that a chainsaw generates, which are thousands, it moves at a very high clip. And with that, chainsaw has teeth on it. It's not teeth like a regular handsaw. I've had a couple of cases involving chainsaws over the course of my career. And I'll just put it to you this way, the deposition of tissue and blood, because with a regular handsaw, you would just you might get a little tissue, you're gonna have a lot of blood. This is going to sling actual tissue everywhere. And so the idea that this could be cleaned up completely, there's no way, no way.
And this is why I say David's a fucking idiot. Like, and that's the first, I don't think you need to be a forensic scientist guru with a monocle to understand that chainsaw plus body equals no good. Like, when's the last time you used a chainsaw and you put it to a tree? What happens to the tree? There's a stream of, what do they call it? Chainsaw dust. There's literally a whole row of dust behind it. What do you think that's going to do to a human body? This shit is crazy.
The idea that this could be cleaned up completely, there's no way, no way under God's green heaven that you're going to be able to clean up every bit of tissue deposition that's there. You might think you've gotten it, but once the cops get in there and they have enough time, they're going to collect. And that goes back to this idea that they've identified DNA. And they're saying that it is her DNA.
And coupled with the pieces from the pool, right? The pool mat that allegedly he used to wrap her up?
Well, yeah, and they're talking about a kiddie pool that was there that facilitated this. And if you read that TMZ bit that they had, they're talking about he used this to guard the flow of blood. So, yeah, and if it is blue, they've got plastic embedded into these insults.
But anyways, I just think that's the stupidest tool that you could ever use. Unless, let's just be real, unless he just wanted to see the gore, because why else would you get a chainsaw? Again, it feels like a movie. It feels like something you would want to recreate out of a movie. Like, let's do a Texas Chainsaw Massacre recreation. It doesn't make sense. This guy was sick, and he thought that floor, this guy's not mentioning the floor, but he thought that those curtains and that floor was going to be able to, along with the kiddie pool, was going to be able to contain everything. What a moron, bro. But anyways, SF Investigates was talking about David using a fake name before this whole summary came out, right? And we know this because we actually have pictures. Now, remember, they said he was using, I think, Victoria Mendez as the person ordering the dismemberment tools. Well, check this out. This man even walked up on the house and took pictures of the mail. Look at this. Now, if you look real close, it says what? Victoria, what? Let's look closer. Victoria Mendez. And what's funny is David must have forgot that he changed the name to Victoria Mendez. So as he kept on ordering things throughout the months, it stayed that name. Again, numbskull behavior. I thought you were some gift from God. I thought you were God's creation, your God's gift to the world. You couldn't remember to change the name back? This shit is crazy, bro. Now, a lot of people are saying that, David was messing with Celeste, and we know now that he was also messing with another person that was younger than. Let's just say it like that. And a lot of people are saying that he created Victoria Mendez because that was actually someone he knew. Now, this is all theory. We're entering conspiracy theory land, but I wanted to show you this Reddit post that kind of supports that theory, okay? Let's check this out. So this has been picking up some traction, and before we even read the actual picture, I just want to read the sentence below. It says, recently, we spoke with Celeste's ex-boyfriend's mother, and if you recall, the ex-boyfriend, the one that was actually her age, he had gotten on the camera before months ago, speaking about Celeste. So it says, recently we spoke to Celeste's ex-boyfriend's mother, who provided us with some additional information about their experience and what she had been told. Although there wasn't much new information she could give, she did mention that David was photographed in the parking lot in Lake Elsinore, and they mentioned that a quote-unquote Victoria or quote-unquote Veronica was present with David that day and claimed to be Celeste's best friend. After today's hearing and reviewing the paperwork, I discovered that David had placed her orders under the alias of Victoria Mendez, which raises questions about the validity of the alias and is there a Veronica? Coincidence? And this is the message that's been going around. Redacted grade. Yeah, David also bought blank a dirt bike and gave him money also. He wasn't pictured. There was also a girl with red hair that claimed to be Celeste's best friend. I want to say her name was Veronica or Victoria. Mind you, this is stuff that's been said way before he's making all these aliases up and he's changing names and ordering dismemberment weapons to the house on different dates. So again, we're in conspiracy land at this point, but at this point, you never know. He probably thought it was romantic to use her best friend's name as the alias. Crazy. But anyways, you guys let me know what you think about that theory. And before we get out of here, I just want to show you one more thing, right? I was toward the end of my video when I found this on Reddit. And it really just kind of shows how sick David was and how obsessed he was with all his, his little Japanese or South Korean ideologies and theories that he liked to, put himself into. For example, the invisible string theory. Somebody posted these pictures that David put up on a music video that he had made in one night, and he was really proud about it, right? It was really dark. It was kind of eerie. But during the video, he puts these fingers up, and it's the same pinky and ring finger. Look at this. And this is during the video. And again, he has some actress that's not Celeste, but damn it, she looks real close to her. The curly hair, even the tube top that you would see Celeste walking around in, it's the Adidas pants. It's like her same style and everything. And this is what the post had put up. And at first you would think like, okay, that's a reach. At this point, no, it's not. Check this out. August 12th, 2025, David posted a video on his X account around La Mesa Motel in Santa Rosa, New Mexico, with a curly-haired girl wearing a black tube top and black leggings. In the video, he also sticks out his left ring finger and then his pinky. The song playing in the back, which he claims he made 5 minutes ago, goes, "Bleeding out, my blood stained your clothes. Would you let me die on you?" I don't know if someone already mentioned this here, but I think he was telling on himself. The girl also painfully and closely resembles Celeste to the point some people in the comments thought it was her. Celeste deserves so much better. Justice will be made for her, I'm sure. I have faith. We should all have faith she will get the justice she deserves. And trust me, I don't know if it's the full justice that she deserves, but best believe, at the very least, David's gonna rot. And I don't even think that's full-on justice, but that's a start. This guy was in our face the entire time, throwing up ring and pinky fingers and telling us that strings were being broken like a fucking weirdo. And you still have people to this very day saying like, oh no, Neo moved the car. Man, I'm not playing with that theory any further. This seems like it was all David, and I'm gonna stick with that until I find out otherwise. People are gonna say like, oh no, he's being framed. It's too coincidental. He's not that stupid. People took his interests and framed them to make it look like it would be him. Go get lobotomized. You need one. I'll see you guys real soon, man. I love y'all. Peace.